Today, I want to talk about something that could potentially change the trajectory of your life. Wow, that sounds really big, but I think it could be true for a lot of us. A lot of us are making videos on YouTube, or making content on our podcasts and Instagram and LinkedIn, and we're creating and selling our expertise through online courses and things. And there's a lot of value that provides for ourselves, for our families, for our businesses, and for the people who are consuming that content. But today, I want to focus specifically on another opportunity through coaching. And one of the advantages of coaching is that you can give and sell this information directly to the person who wants it. And instead of it being like generic info that you kind of talk about at a high level, which I'm going to do today in this podcast, instead, you can customize it, you can tailor it, and you can apply it exactly to someone's situation, helping them out way more than maybe just a video on the topic could. You can change someone's beliefs. You can change how they feel about something. You can spark them to take action in ways you can't just with content. There's so many pros to this. And today, what I want to do is a couple things. Number one, we're going to talk about how can you launch a profitable coaching business with your YouTube audience or your Instagram or LinkedIn or wherever that might be. And we also want to talk about how do you just get started and how much should you charge? How do you decide how much to charge? And we're also going to talk with a guy named Travis Chambers, who recently did this with his relatively small Instagram following. With only one story to his Instagram account and his followers, he has 8 clients. They're paying $8,000 a month, and it takes him a few hours a week of his time to do it. And we're going to hear a little bit more behind the scenes of what he did and what that looks like for him, as well as platforms and technology that you can use to make this scalable, to make this something that you and your team, if you have one, can use to reach and impact a lot of people while making good money and enjoying your life and just feeling better all the way around. I feel like I just promised so many good, big things, but hopefully I deliver on every single one of them here in this episode.
Hey, welcome to the Video Creators Podcast. You know how you put a lot of time and energy into your YouTube channel for not nearly enough growth? Yeah, we get it. We're here today to help you change that.
Hello, creators. How are you guys? It's great to see you again for another Video Creators Podcast episode like we do here every week to help you as a YouTube creator and as a business owner know how you can reach more people and change their lives with the message that you're spreading and the business that you're growing around that audience. And one of the best ways to do that is by growing a profitable coaching business. Now, today, what I want to talk about is like how do we even get started with this and give you some practical tools and ideas for doing this in the first place. I think it's important to start with why coaching in the first place. And I teased some of those things in the intro here. But the biggest thing that stands out to me is that, one, this is just such a simple way to start monetizing your audience without needing a whole big funnel and without needing to set up a whole lot of landing pages. You don't need a website. You don't need anything other than a way for people to contact you and say, yes, I want to work with you, and then some sort of payment processor, whether it be PayPal or Stripe or an invoicing system or something like that. So you don't need a lot to get started. My favorite part about coaching, having done coaching for, we've been here at Video Creators for almost just shy of 10 years now. We've worked with, last year we worked with 635 clients we coached. And so here at Video Creators, not only do we create a coaching business like I started, but then I started scaling that into other YouTube strategists on our team that are now working with clients instead of me. And we've been able to work with 630 some clients last year. And more recently, we were purchased by vidIQ. So now we are taking coaching to like a whole new level in a whole different way. So coaching is something I'm really passionate about, really excited about. And it's because, coming back to this why coaching thing, it's because that I really believe that coaching allows you to change someone's life in ways that just, selling online content or just selling a program or a curriculum or even just creating something like a podcast episode, it just doesn't change someone's life the same way. You can make eye contact with someone and you can listen and hear someone's struggles and their stories, and just the act of listening and having someone else just talk out loud about something is really valuable. Like if there is something to say, and I say this kind of tongue in cheek, but like if you just went and talked to a fire hydrant, you would be better off than just keeping it all in your head. Just the process of talking through something out loud starts changing how you feel about something and how you're interacting with that problem or thinking about the solution. So coaching is a really powerful way to change someone's life. And it's also the most simple way to get started monetizing your audience. So how do you get started? A few things, few ideas for you here. A couple principles that I've learned over doing this for a decade, video creators, and then selling the coaching business to another company and growing it now, working on growing that in a very, really exciting way, which we'll talk about more in a future episode, I'm sure. But the first thing I would say is you really need to have a plan for the process of what this coaching is going to look like. Now, it doesn't have to be a detailed plan. It doesn't have to be a complicated plan. It doesn't have to be so rigid that everyone you have a very small selection of people you can actually work with, and everyone's got to go through the same exact process. It's not that regimented. It's more of like, what are like the first high level things that you should talk about when you get into on a call, and what do you feel are like the first questions you should be asking? What should your on-camera presence be like if you're doing a Zoom call? If it's in person, what should that be like? How do you actually present yourself in a way that this person from the very beginning feels like, oh, I think I'm going to get something valuable here. This is going to be good. And again, you don't have to overthink it. I would just recommend starting with a smile and say you're excited to meet them and talk about them, and then ask them a few questions and get them talking and get them sharing their story and what they're trying to do. And so that that's an idea for like what the beginning of the process should look like. This person's likely wants coaching from you because they're at point A and they want to get to point B. And so they kind of just want to feel like you have an idea of how to get them to point B. Now, they don't need to know the process and they don't want to know all the details of it, but just some sort of plan for this is how we work with people. And you can tell people this is what it's like to work with me. Okay. Number two, you have to know the limits of what you can and can't do for them, because like a video creators, when I first started doing coaching, I kind of said yes to everything that was related to YouTube. And I can do a lot of things on YouTube. I can help people with a lot of things on YouTube, but I had to make a choice of like, what do I want to be the best in the world at on YouTube? And maybe that feels too big. You don't have to be the best in the world necessarily to get started, but asking the question that way really helped me focus on like, what is absolutely the thing that I want to focus on here? What can I be the best at? What do I like? What drives me? What gets me excited to do this? And so I had some clients I was doing some like business kind of stuff with. I had other clients I was doing more channel management for. Others I was just doing like feedback and consulting with and things. And like, okay, I want to know who can I help the best, and what are the parameters of what I can and can't do for them? Otherwise, what happens, I learned this hard way, is you end up kind of getting into areas that you thought you wanted to do, but you kind of don't. And then you feel like you can provide better results for this person who's in this situation than that person who's in that situation, but they're both paying money. So you feel obligated to help them both. Like just having some kind of like knowing what you can and can't do is helpful. And then I would just recommend as you're getting started, just do some free sessions. Now and we'll talk about this here in a second with Travis, I don't think that you should only offer free sessions, because people will definitely take your sessions more seriously when you charge for them. But just to kind of get some experience in your belt and kick the tires, see if you like coaching or not. Do they really energize you? Do they drain you? Those types of things. I would just do a few to get started. We'll talk about how much to charge here with a guy named Travis here in a second. But the thing I would add to what you're about to hear from him is that you should charge whatever you feel like your time is worth in order to give up the things you would otherwise spend your time doing. And that's a different number for different people. Travis will explain his rationale to you. And I've been doing more private one-on-one coaching as well, not in content strategy or YouTube strategy or anything like that, more in like life coaching for creators who are like, what's the end goal here? I have a successful channel. What do I do next? Or, like the business is doing well. How do I like manage what is happening here? And how do I set this up so it's good for me and my life and my goals? What are my goals? Now, my goals were to grow a successful YouTube channel. Now that I've done that, like what's next? I feel kind of lost. Like those types of life coaching things. And if you're interested in that, you can go to timschmoyer.com and find out more. But even there, like the finding out how much to charge is like, what would this take away from other things that you would spend your time doing? And that number changes for all of us. If you don't have a job and have zero income, your number might be lower than someone who's got a lot of other opportunities that are already paying, right? Not to say you should charge lower for that, for if you're in that situation. It's just, it feels like there's probably more pressure in the pipe to just get as many people on board for as cheap as possible, which I would advise against. I think you want to get the right type of person too. And it's worth also thinking about, who is the person that would be my most ideal client, and what would they be willing to charge to solve this problem or to overcome this thing? And so that goes into it as well. I want to talk about some of the technology and processes we use here as well. You're going to hear Travis here talk about Volley. So let me set that up, but then I'll introduce Travis to you and hear some of his story. Then I'll come back after that to share some other ideas of what this could look like practically for you. But in case you haven't heard of Volley before, Volley, in terms of full disclosure, I have some equity in Volley, and so does Travis. And so we've both been using Volley for consulting and for coaching, because it's asynchronous video, which means that like a client can leave a video message for me. I can watch it in double speed when I have time, and then record a response back when I have time. So it eliminates the need for email, eliminates the need for having to schedule different meetings and having and trying to figure out time zones and schedules, and eliminates Zoom, both on our time, both for the client and for me as the coach. We can get into Volley and just catch up with the messages we have when we're there, and then leave and move on with our day as our time permits, right? So it makes coaching very accessible and very flexible, and it also allows people like me to do it, and people like Travis who otherwise wouldn't be able to do this at all in the first place because we're just so busy with so many different things going on. Okay, so that's what asynchronous video chat is. It's just kind of like, it's not sync. We just leave video messages for each other, and there's a lot of cool features in there in Volley that make that really easy and accessible to you. So, but let's cut to this interview with Travis. Hear a little bit about his story, about how with a small audience, he is making $8,000 a month with coaching with only a few hours of his time every week. Hear a little bit more of how he did that, and then I'll come back and share with you some ideas about how you can do something similar very practically with your time if coaching is something that you're interested in. Travis, thanks for hanging out with me here. It's fun to see you again. We haven't caught up for a few years, I think, now at this point.
I know, it's been forever.
Tell people who aren't familiar with you what you've been doing with online video for a long time, and like what you have spent most of your time recently working on. It's been exciting.
Yeah, so I spent 7 years building an agency, and then I sold the majority of it. And then the last year I've been focusing on building short-term rental developments.
Like not just like short term, but like, can you talk about how crazy some of these things are?
Well, it was called Exotic B&Bs. I actually just got a letter from Airbnb this morning telling me to change the name.
Dang it.
But it's okay. We were going to change the name anyways. So, but yeah, it's like the Exotic B&Bs kind of segment is what we're trying to really develop in. So we've got 5 properties under construction, and they're just weird. They're like future dystopian huts and clear hexagon dome looking things and 3D printed huts and all sorts of weird stuff.
Yeah, I've been watching your Instagram posts and Facebook posts and stuff, and they've been very intriguing. I'm like, if anyone's going to pull that off, it's going to be Travis. That's going to be awesome.
Some days I wonder, man.
But that's part of the fun of it, because you don't know how the story is going to end. That's what holds our interest. They're like,
that's true.
I don't know. Yeah. So is it fair to say that you have a lot going on?
It's a busy time. Yep.
Yeah, and you have expertise in online video and growing agencies and businesses and property development. What else could you sell your time for coaching?
I don't know.
Just fast. I see you driving fast cars. You can probably talk about cars for a little bit if you wanted to.
There's too many things going on, and I'm not an expert in any of them. So, but I did. I did start doing coaching for people in e-commerce, and that's been super rewarding.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see you do so many different things. And I think there's a lot of people listening to this who's like, I've got experience in all these different things. Where do I start? I could provide coaching in this thing or that thing. And you've got such a wide breadth of experiences and things you just crushed and killed it at, the other things that you went out and totally failed and flopped, which also makes you an expert in some ways in some of those things. How did you land on e-commerce as like, this is the area where I can offer the most, or I want to coach in?
When I started, so I was in public relations in the journalism school, and that was back in 2007. And it didn't take long for me to realize that journalism was not a good career path, which proved to be true. Journalists just don't make a lot of money. And so we all got introduced to Twitter in a class. And that's when I thought, oh, this is probably going to be the next big thing. And so I just focused the career on that and rode the wave. Because I really wanted to be in film and TV and stuff, but I just knew that it's really hard to climb the ladder in those industries. And so, when I was working at 20th Century Fox, half the people on the company were making 40 grand in their late 20s in LA.
Wow.
Which is just crazy. So anyways, at the times, digital spending was 3% of all media spending in the US. And that was back in 2011, I think, which is just crazy to think at the time how small all of this whole industry was. It was teeny. And then it just exploded. So, but that's why I've just been like mining that vein,
Yeah, really focusing on that one thing. And so when you look at all the different things that you could offer, you picked e-commerce as the thing you could offer because that's where you feel like you have the most expertise, or is that where the most demand was, or is that just the thing you're most passionate about, or what was the thing that helped you choose that thing?
It was the thing I just had the most credibility in, and even though I'm changing careers a little bit, I still felt like it'd be kind of more. I feel like it'd be morally wrong for me to just not share this information and to just keep it all to myself, because there's just so many things that I learned that maybe aren't novel things that other people haven't learned, but I'm a different person. So I learned them in a different way, which means I'll be able to explain them to people in a different way that might make sense to them. And so one day I just thought, maybe I should just offer my help. And in order for it to not be super difficult, I'll do it through the Volley app so that it'll be, auto-synchronous. And so I'll be able to do it on my own time, and I won't have, 5-6 calls lined up one after another or whatever, which just saps your whole day. And then I thought too, for anyone that is paying for this, they are not going to want to sit on an hour-long call that's scheduled right in the middle of their day either, when they're trying to do a million different things. So I thought, it's just interesting because if it wasn't for Volley, I never would have done any type of coaching at all, because I don't have the time to build a funnel. I don't have the time to do live events or webinars. I just don't have the time for any of that stuff, but I still want to give back. And it's interesting because I gave out my Volley link a few times on social, and, a few people would message me here and there. But the second I said $1,000 a month for one-on-one coaching, 3 hours a month, I think it was like 15 people signed up, and then I think 8 ended up paying. So I'm coaching 8 people right now. Wow. And I spend, a few hours a week. I check in, I'll spend an hour and a half twice a week responding to everyone and talking through challenges, giving assignments. And it's very informal. There's no formal program. There's no curriculum. There's no schedule. It's just I've hired 130 people over the last 7 years. And so at this point, the program, it's organic, right? It's we're going to set a program for each person and goals and things to try for each person. And it's been really cool. I'm glad Volley's around because, $8,000 a month is a big deal, for anybody.
Yeah. So let me understand this right. You're like, I'm just going to charge $100K, $1,000 for this once a month. and you just went to your Instagram, if I remember the story correctly, right? And you just made a post, and you're not like the world's most popular Instagram creator or celebrity or star. How large is your Instagram following?
I have a teeny audience. So I have 13,000 followers. Average like maybe a few thousand views per reel, which is like everyone gets that. So I actually was shocked. I was really shocked about the response that I got, which it just meant that there were all these people that were following me for a reason, but that I had never interacted with or engaged before. And so everything that I've learned that I have that I can transfer to them, that transfer just never would have happened if I hadn't have done this. And so I think about how life-changing, I read a few books, and one of them was a $100 startup, and it totally changed my life. And I completely set my whole career up based on the principles in that book. And I just thought, and then the 4-Day Work Week also impacted me, and Tim Ferriss. So I just look at some of these guys, Ryan Holiday, right? The Confessions of a Media Manipulator. Those authors fundamentally changed the path of my life and of my family and of all the decisions I made. And I think what most people are struggling with is they don't know, they have a lot of ideas, but they don't really know what the best direction to go is. And so sometimes it's just really nice to have some type of authority figure that can just validate a direction to go. And so I've told these people I'm working with, I'm like, hey, I'm not going to give you tons of tactical information. I'm just here to, confirm or deny your own ideas of what you want to do. Because, I had that when I had an intern who ended up being my partner, and he was able to do that for me, and so people need that. And, $1,000 is a lot cheaper than a co-founder or, something like that. So it's been really great. And it's just like, I wanted to do it to give back, but I realized that people, what made me realize that I needed to charge for it was because I invited tons of people up to my cabin for an anti-mastermind weekend. So just a bunch of founders to come up, no like mastermind, nothing, just hang out and just get to know people and learn through osmosis. And I invited a bunch of people, and they were just kind of wishy-washy. And then I just announced on my socials, hey, $850, here's the sign-up link. And the retreat filled up in 2 days. And I thought, and then it was a different vibe at the retreat too. Everyone really wanted to be there. We had the budget to get all sorts of really fun things for everybody to enjoy. And so that's when the light bulb went off for me about coaching in general, that like people have to pay for it in order to like get something from it, which Russell Brunson says all the time, but it didn't register until I actually tried it.
It's absolutely true. I used to do free sessions for nonprofits, for military vets, for, people who are just down on their luck. And it didn't matter what the background story was. If they don't pay for it, or if they don't even pay enough, like it's got to be a painful amount of money for them to come with a paper and pen and ready to take notes and implement everything you say and then get the results that they want, as opposed to like they pay a small amount of money or no money and they're just kind of showing up to see if you have any good ideas or not. So you're right. It's absolutely true. How did you land on $1,000 a month for what you were going to offer? Is that just something you put out of the air? Was there a thought process behind how you got to that number? Or was it just
Yeah, there was a thought process. And the thought process was, what is enough money that it's a substantial amount for someone to make them committed, but small enough amount where I don't feel like I'm in a super high pressure situation where they're having unrealistic expectations of me. And so $1,000 felt like to me, if a month goes by and they don't feel like it was the greatest thing ever, I don't think anyone's going to be super upset about $1,000. Or if they just want their money back, I'll just send it back because it's just not a lot. And so it was interesting too, because we put up a website that had coaching on it a few months ago for like $4,000 or $5,000 a month or something. And it was very in depth. Like I did an in-person visit at their business, and I would have this lengthy program, and it was had a multiple month commitment to it. And what I found is I had a few people contact me about that, and I found myself being in a sales situation where I had to sell them on it. And, you know, they're saying, hey, let's get on a call and let's see if this is something that works. And I was just like, you know, I am really busy and I don't want to be pitching and selling myself as a consultant, as a coach. And so I was like, you know, I'm just going to do a smaller amount of money and give them less, and it will just be way less friction, you know, for me, and less commitment for them, and a more, you know, payable amount for them.
So you're showing it is possible to have a relatively small audience but have some valuable expertise or insights or experience or skills that someone else might want to tap into. Go to your social accounts, whether it be YouTube or Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn or wherever, and you're like, hey, this is what I can do. I would love to just support other people who are trying to do something like this. Pretty simple post, not like did I craft the sales copy right? And did I get the right authority words in there? You know, and all those types of things. And then, and you're like, here's the link. If you're interested, was it an application or was it like a checkout? You said you had some people applied and 8 actually signed up, right?
I literally just posted my story, and then I just had my employee just sent them an invoice to PayPal. I just didn't even I just kept it the very most basic, simple. It's not even like a reoccurring thing, which is I'm really excited that Volley is coming out with some features around this stuff. It's going to make it even more seamless for people. But I hope a lot of people hear about this because I know so many people that could monetize their followings very, very easy that aren't, you know, and Instagram does have the paid subscriber thing, but it's like, I set mine at $1.
Too.
I set mine at $1.
I saw yours on Instagram.
Yeah. I've got 30 people or something signed up, and I'm like, $30. I'll throw up 3 or 4 videos a month or something. But yeah, that's not enough for people to be really engaged with it, you know?
Yeah.
But so I was going to post on LinkedIn too, because I have a bigger following there, but my time filled up just with one Instagram story post, and it was very informal. Just like you said, it was just hey, I feel like I have stuff I should be sharing and not keeping to myself. And so and I didn't even put a price or anything on there. I just said, if anyone wants to do a paid coaching thing with me, message me. And I mean, I was surprised. It was 40 or 50 DMs within a couple days. And I was shocked because I only get 500-600 views per story. I mean, that's pretty wild. And so there's got to be a ton of people that could do the same thing, you know?
Yeah. So you're proving that it's possible with a small audience with a few hours a week, make $8,000 a month and helping
funnel,
people and feeling good
list.
at the same time. Yeah.
No
awesome.
sales letter, no email list, no funnel. I mean, just literally nothing. And I don't know of any other place you could do that other than with Volley. You could do it with Voxer, but that doesn't have the same visual connection. And I'm sorry, but if I'm just in an audio thing, then there's just not the value for me as a customer.
The human connection is a lot deeper with video. Yeah. I'll share in the next segment here about the features coming to Volley. But to wrap up here, if you could just leave the person who's like, I don't know if I can do this, or what if I put myself out there and no one actually buys or whatever? What would you say to that person who's like, I don't know if this is for me, if I can do this yet? What would you say to that person?
I'd say just try it, because there's just nothing to lose and there's just nothing to even really build. Let's say you throw it out there for $200-$300 and you get a handful of people that say yes. You know, that's something, you know, and now you're helping people. And it feels good too.
I love that story with Travis because honestly, that's been similar to my story as well. And I haven't, since the acquisition of VidIQ, I haven't like published anything. I haven't put anything out there. It's just like people are like, Tim, I wish my life as a creator were more fruitful. I wish my business was more fruitful and successful here. Can you help me? And Volley has allowed me to do the same thing as Travis has done, is be able to help people and give feedback and input and coaching to people when I'm busy. I got a lot going on. I've got a full-time gig with vidIQ. There's a lot that we're trying to pull off in a small amount of time, which I cannot wait to tell you about. But Volley has done for me similarly to what it's been able to do for Travis. And so now Volley is actually rolling out a new service here by November 7th called Consult with Me. It's a Consult with Me page, and it's a page that you can build out on Volley where people can just buy time to talk with you. It's been working so well for some of us on Volley that Volley's like, hey, we gotta build this in as a feature. So what you can do is you can go to volleyapp.com to sign up for access to the beta to get notified. But by November 7th, it will be available to sign up for a Consult with Me page. And what you can do is you'll log into your Volley account, and you'll connect Stripe for processing payments and billing information. You'll fill out a bio there, and then you'll be able to build out a few offers. You can do a one-time offer of like, hey, just a one-time fee, and I'll talk in order for us to connect and talk about like this one thing. So maybe someone's got like a pitch deck and they just want feedback on their pitch deck, and you're like, I can give feedback on a pitch deck, pay for this one-time thing, and it'll be whatever price that you set. Or you can do recurring payments like what Travis is doing, where it is it's $1,000 a month, and I'll just give you my time to give you feedback and give you like yes or no, like that's the right direction, that's not the right direction. And you can even stack the offers if you want. So whatever you want them to be, you set that up inside of your Consult with Me link inside of Volley. And then once that offer is created, it'll show up right on the front of your Consult with Me page on Volley, where people can just tap a little button or click a button, go through the checkout process, and boom, just book that time with you. There's a little timer inside of Volley that shows how much time is left for what the person paid for, and that you and the client can both see. The whole thing should only take about 5 to 7 minutes of your time to set up completely. And then you'll have a link to a Volley link that you can put in your YouTube channel descriptions. You can put on your website. You can even embed it on your website. You can put it in your Instagram bio or wherever, LinkedIn, wherever you want people to be like, I would love to talk with this person. I'd love to get their feedback on this thing, or I'd love to share with them the scenario I'm in and see what they would do in this scenario. Or maybe you have like a homesteading channel, and I'm thinking about my chickens right now because it's getting colder. And you're like, here's the setup I have for my chickens. Is this an appropriate setup for the winter in my region? Because you can search for that all you want online, but sometimes it would just be better. You feel more comfortable if you just could talk to someone for 15 minutes. You could look at that and be like, yes, you got it right. Or no, you don't, like just fix this one thing or something like that. Right. So whatever that is, you want to sell your time. I think this Consult with Me feature is coming to Volley soon as of this recording, but should be out on November 7th, is something that I think almost anyone who's trying to sell their expertise can do. And even if you're like, you know what, I don't think I want to sell my, people won't pay what I want to charge. That's okay. Put the number on there that is worth your time. And if people don't buy, then hopefully you have other things going on that, would pay for your time instead. But you don't need to have like a whole big consulting agency or anything to do this. Sometimes just one or two, like right now I'm only working with 3 life coaching clients, helping them make their life more fruitful and more successful as creators and as business men and women who are growing their businesses online. It doesn't have to be a lot, but I love helping those people however I can. And something like Volley makes it sustainable despite a busy schedule and everything else that's going on. So if you want to kick the tires of Volley, I'll put a link in the show notes of this episode where you can go. There's a community on Volley called Volley for video creators, or just creators now, I think is what we shortened it to. And there's over 800, I think we're close to 900 creators in that space who are just having conversations about gear and about video strategy and about shorts. And one guy, Chris, is sharing a lot about the data he's finding about shorts and how it generates or doesn't generate sales for his business and things like that. So really cool conversations happening there if you want to jump in and see what a video chat, asynchronous video chat community could be like. And then also get an idea of what that looks like for you using it as a part of your coaching business and setting that up to get started. So click the link in the show notes down below to get started there. And if you have questions about this, about starting a profitable coaching business, that would be a great place to start too. There's another space in Volley called Volley for Coaches, and those people are doing exactly what we've been talking about here. They're using Volley in their coaching business, in their coaching program, and there's several hundred coaches in there. So if you want to hear more of how they're doing this and ask your questions and start using Volley in a way similarly to how your clients would be using them with you, then check out that Volley for Coaches space. Both of them linked up in the show notes down below. And I'd love to hear your questions. If you got some for me in there, I'd love to answer them best that I can. I am excited to hear what you do with this information and how you use it to launch a profitable coaching business. So talk about them in those Volley spaces and ask your questions, and let's help you out the best that we can. But in the meantime, looking forward to hearing stories. Thanks for being a part of this amazing community here at Video Creators. I appreciate each and every one of you for being a part of this. Thanks for being here. And I'll see you guys again next week for another Video Creators podcast episode. See you then. Bye.